Happy Friday, guys. We are definitely in a capitulation zone right now. So we're starting to see a double-digit red day on altcoins. There's a couple of big alts we need to speak around. Zcash is down 43%. There's a bunch of stuff happening there at the moment. And ultimately, is this a massive buying opportunity? Injective's down, had a great month, coming down nicely for some retests. Cardano's down quite a bit as well. But obviously, the big one to speak around is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has now started to approach the low 60,000s. Now, for me, guys, I do want to speak around capitulation right now, but I do want to speak around a very strong bounce once we hit support. And if we can use this to get some entries, the likeliness of these entries going into profits very quickly and giving us a launch pad to build on top of is very good. So I want to speak around altcoin zones. I want to speak around the Bitcoin bounce, okay? And I want to speak around, I don't think the alts are going to drop that much further. I do see the Bitcoin dominance retesting support right now, and we should actually see a nice release into the altcoins once we have seen a bounce. So guys, happy Friday. Smash the like button up, and let's get through this patch. Let's go.
I try and help everyone in my space, and this is what I get. I try and fight the devils, but inside I'm just like sniper. Welcome to 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪.
Fam, let's jump straight into it. Let's get the charts up here. And let's go. Okay, guys, so we are definitely accelerating on Bitcoin. Let's bring it up here. Okay, so we're accelerating down. Again, we are now seeing up to 5-6 days of consecutive red candles. What we are looking for is a couple of signs, right? We're going to speak around us going to support zones now, but it's also important at this point to pay attention to candles, right? Candles and volume. These are very important. So what you can see right now is we have seen a spike up in volume. Right? Therefore, we are starting to see bigger moves. Previously here, we never had much volume in the markets, okay? But now you can see as the volume's coming up, we're starting to get the bigger candles come to play. Now what we're looking for is the reversal volume spike. So before I speak around the levels where I see us bouncing, we want to pay attention to a couple of signs. The first sign is the volume spike. Now, the previous time we dropped, you could see here that when we're in this period, we never saw much volume increasing. But the moment we started to break big critical areas and started to move a lot bigger, volume started to come in. Makes sense, right? Higher volume comes in, move starts to accelerate a lot quicker. Then what you got was a buy up zone. Now, the first time we bounced, we saw a small little bit of volume incoming, right? Little green volume bar here gave us a little bounce, but it wasn't a volume bar that was bigger than the rest. Right? You want to see an abnormal spike when it comes to volume to know that that was a real buy. Because when we get to a certain point, you're going to see an injection of volume that's really going to give this fast move. Okay, and you want to see a big volume spike. So moments later, we had a second drop off. So even now, if we are bouncing, but we are not seeing a ridiculous volume spike, as well as a reversal candle, right? Very likely that's not the bottom just yet. Okay, but if you look at this, we come down, boom, there's a bounce, right? So Bitcoin went down from 72,000 to 62,000, right? We then dropped lower the next day to 59,000. And then we had this absorbing candle over here where we saw a big volume spike incoming, right? And you can see that this volume spike way exceeded any other of the green volume spikes that we have seen throughout that whole period of the down. That is one of the signs we want to see as we are starting to approach. Is now you're getting an increase here, right? And it's very likely you're going to see an increase of maybe a red one, but you want to see a spike up, right? Very similar to this one over here, okay, of volume. That's an important tail sign, right? Is the volume spike. Now, the next thing we want to pay attention to is the candle, right? We want to see a reversal candle, okay? So if I look at a few things, the stock is at the bottom on the daily, right? So this is a good sign saying that, hey, there's a temporary bounce coming. Okay, the candle is now important. We want to see a few candles. The first one we want to see is we want to see a pin bar, quite similar to what we saw yesterday. The problem with yesterday's candle was we still closed red with the body, indicating today we're going to come down and fill that wick, right? So now we are coming down, and it's very likely if we're going to accelerate to the downside, it's probably today, right? Today is probably the day where we really start to push down between today and over the weekend, okay? But what you want to see is you want to see this reverse, either into a doji candle, right, or where it's a strong wick down, okay, and we just close either green or basically flat, okay, with a little head at the top, right? That is the type of candle that we want to see, okay? It's this long wick, flat top, right? there. Or what we want to see is an engulfing candle, right? So if we decide to close today's candle like this, okay, and then tomorrow's another one, we eventually want to see an engulfing candle, one big green candle, right, that basically absorbs 2-3 days of hard work. Okay, that's the play if we don't bottom today, right? If we don't find a bottom today, okay, is something like this. Okay, otherwise today we want to see this whole thing accelerate, reverse, doji candle, and then from there, we're very likely to see a big candle after that and a decent candle come into play, right? And then a nice little move up, and then we're going to go to the next phase that I want to speak around. Okay, so again, it's important to pay attention to candles, volume, right? All of these simple tools that you can use right now, right? To understand that before we just worry about the areas. You want to know what a real bounce looks like. It has volume, and it definitely shows reversal when it comes to the candlestick pattern. Okay, so let's now look at the next plays of where I'm seeing a bottom. All right, so now there is a scenario of a higher low on Bitcoin. Okay, the problem with the higher low here is if you look over here, I don't see much support here. Okay, so I have one reason, maybe two reasons that we have a higher low situation here. Where Bitcoin's going to basically bounce now at the 61,000 and start to make its way up, right? Start getting a bit of a reversal. Firstly, I don't see the volume just yet. And secondly, I don't see, there's a bit of a volume spike. Maybe that's one half reason. Okay, I don't see much volume here. I do see the stock at the bottom. Okay, so I have two reasons of why we can bounce. Where my other reasoning is lower down. Okay, so I have this bottom trend, right? I have these horizontal supports on the left-hand side over here. Okay, I have the RSI at the bottom. Okay, and I have a higher time frame Fibonacci. So let's go here and look at the Fibonacci. I just want to see where this Fib is lining up to. Okay, there we go. The entire cycle that we have seen, this big rally up, right? 6180 is sitting here. That's a big Fibonacci zone. We actually came just short at this time over here. So it's very likely there's a possible new low incoming, but I don't think it's the low down to 40,000 just yet. Even if we are going to go to 40,000, right? I do see a temporary bounce and then a possible down. Okay, but if we look at this here, we are facing two scenarios here. We are facing these two big trend lines. The one support we're coming in now is the major 618. And if we could bounce and let's say make this a low of the cycle, it's proving one thing about Bitcoin is that the down cycles are getting stronger. Because if you look at the past few times, we did have pullbacks of up to 70 to 80%, right? If we look at the last one itself, 76%, right? If we are going to repeat that, we are looking at that mid 30,000s to late 40,000, right? There's definitely a possibility of that incoming, right? We need to lose this trend, however, okay? If what has been working, and Bitcoin has actually been strengthening over time with institutional money, making growth in the traditional finance ways, right? We are looking at up to a 53% pullback. If that's so, that's very good for Bitcoin, right? It means we're making progress. If not, we need to realize that, hey, Bitcoin is still not taken as a serious asset, right? It's not getting stronger in the downside cycles. So if we come down to what I'm seeing here in the short time frame, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a bounce between $58,000 and $60,000. It is slightly lower than the previous wick we made weeks back, which was at the 60,000. I think we're going to drop that. The moment we drop that, everyone mentally is going to think $40,000, right? And anyone that long these areas clearly has a stop loss over here. So I do think the market is going to come down and hunt those stop losses, right? If not, get the whole world to think we are bearish. This is the perfect place for me looking for a reversal. Now, the way I'm looking for the reversal, right, is something like this, where we drop down and we actually have a strong bounce over a day or two, back up close to 70,000. Then I think the market is going to trickle down, and then we are going to know if we're going for 40 or if we are looking at actually reversing and going back to 80,000. The market is going to give a clear bounce when it's ready to bounce, and then it's going to sit flat after that. We want to try get some good entries in on the capitulation. Capitulation is always known as the best time, right, to get incredible buys, right? We can see it with the altcoins today. We cannot sit here today and say that Solana going to late $50, right? AVAX is going sub $7, right? Zcash back in the 200s, right? That's what it did recently in the last 24 hours. We can't say this isn't incredible prices, right? So for me, capitulation gives you that opportunity. So spot bags, long-term bags accumulating here, that's the play. So when it comes for me, I'm still at the play where I have injecting long-term. I've been injecting when it comes to spot bags. I'm not trading a ridiculous amount at the moment, okay? However, I am busy with my fundeds. So I'm putting fundeds in to get liquidity so I have more cash flow and I want to pass levels through these areas. But this is just an example of what I've done on many of the exchanges, right? I have limit orders here. I've got a limit order at 59,800, 59,400, and 58,700. And I have a stop loss at 57,000, right? 57,000 is where I'm looking at putting a stop loss. 2 sec. Okay, so 57,000 is kind of my invalidation that, hey, we're losing this trend. Let me rather stay out now, and let's see if we are going to approach the 40,000s. Okay, so there, when it comes to all of my accounts here right now, many of them, you can see the limit orders that I'm setting. In case I miss 58,000, I'm laddering all the way in from 59,000 all the way down to the low 58,000s. Right, so that is my current gameplay when it comes to that. Now let's speak around altcoins. All right, here's altcoins over here. So I gave this drawing to you guys yesterday. If you guys are not subscribed to Sniper Trading, go and join Sniper Trading. Now, Sniper Trading, I'm bringing a new format, right? And the format is around these 5 to 6 minute shows daily. So in Banter, I'm going to go through tons of alts, tons of updates, right? Where here, I'm choosing basically the most important charts you need to know on a daily, right? If it's 2 charts, if it's 3 charts, right? It's in crypto, it's outside of crypto, it's all markets in the world, okay? But it's very important. So here, subscribe to this one over here. As later today, I'm going to be dropping another video over here. But yesterday, I did speak around this exact drop in altcoins, okay? And I gave this exact drawing over here. So what I'm seeing on alts now is alts is approaching the weekly support. Okay, as you can see, not a tremendous amount of volume just yet. We still have 2 days left, but I'm not seeing a crazy volume spike over here just yet. Okay, and like I said, I do think alts damage was done. I think we can come down, but I don't see us going crazy down. I actually think Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana are catching up right now. And once you got the entire market oversold is when I'm looking for a real market reset and a restart to the cycle, right? That's what I'm looking for. So when it comes to alts, big supports in this area over here, okay? But if I'm still expecting Bitcoin to come down a little bit, I want to speak around what I'm seeing here. So I think alts will go slightly lower than what they did recently, okay, to tag this trend over here, and I'm seeing the same thing. Okay, that is my first plan A right now. If I'm looking at plan B, we will lose this and we're going to sit here for a little while. That for me is bearish. Okay, right now, after multiple red days and acceleration, alts are accelerating. Okay, it's because of this Bitcoin dominance. I actually spoke about this yesterday as well. Okay, to say that, hey, Bitcoin dominance lost this big trend. We're going to go retest it. So altcoins are very likely to join the party, right? They're going to start accelerating pretty quickly. The thing, though, is we are now coming into that trend. And if you look at the trend and you look at these resistances above, right, there is resistance on dominance, which means that once we are done or we find a local bottom, right, it's very likely if this rockets in, hey, Bitcoin wants to maybe go hunt the 70s and reverse completely, right? Don't be surprised if we see a very big reversal at any point, okay? That for me is only if Bitcoin goes crazy, crazy, crazy bullish, okay? It just does something insane. Okay, but if not, and Bitcoin just has that bounce and goes sideways, I do think this will spike up, and I do think it's going to trickle into alts again on the bounce. And I think all the alts we were seeing that were rallying a few days back, they will start rallying again, right? Things will start shifting and moving, okay? So let's now get into the plays. A token that I'm accumulating is ETH right now, right? I do think ETH can go to the mid 1,500s to the 1,650. That for me is like a really big golden pocket that I'm looking for buys. Right? And the same thing I want to see from here. I want to see a bounce up here, trickle, and then we will be at a deciding point of what's going to happen over there. But ETH for me, big opportunities, right? Specifically long-term, even trades, right? That for me is the main trend at the bottom. And if you look at ETH, ETH is in like this huge kind of range. So even not even looking at the new highs, right? It has been doing this for the last couple of years where it's been ranging inside of this. Right? And these have always been big accumulation areas. Okay, so ETH, big play for me. When it comes to Solana, right? Sol for me, I think is one of the most screaming buys on this next pullback. Even now, it's really good. I think mid 60s is good. I think there's money to be made in the future. Okay, where my next supports are sitting, however, is $55 to the $63 mark. That for me is if we have that drop down to 58, 59,000. Okay, this is where I'm looking at a strong reversal point over here. If Bitcoin goes to 40,000, we are looking at $40 plays. Like I said, if we're going to go down, what I'm seeing here is this, then down, then we start again. Okay, that is my current views right now. Or we lose this today, we sit here, and then we have time to brace ourselves for that next play. For me, Solana, big opportunities. AVAX, guys, coming in here between $6 and $7, incredible buys, right? Injective had a strong rally, coming straight back into major supports right now. There's the momentum trend. Big buys here on mid $4 for Injective, right? Same token that was rallying a few days back, right? They're in a good narrative space, right? Zcash is the big one to speak about because Zcash, we actually spoke around limit orders, and I bought some at 400, I bought at 360, and I bought more at 320 for the long term. Okay, but there is problems happening right now. Okay, and there's a lot of sorting out to say, hey, like, is this thing really in big trouble? Okay, so on Monday, I'm really going to go down through the fundamental rules or what's happening there right now. But in the interim, I want to speak about charts today, right? Because even though there's news happening, right? This is a panic sell event over here, right? The chart was saying we can return to support. And it is saying that if you are still a believer, right? Good buys here, specifically if we come back into the mid 200s to the $280, $290 range is really good buys, right? Something like this does take time to recover. It doesn't just recover quickly. Okay, but that's something you want to see some growth like this over time back to the highs over here. So this could end up being a really good trade. Just know there is fundamental problems there right now. When it comes to 𝗬𝗰 for me, guys, I have a big limit order sitting at 64 cents, right? This 60 to 65 cent mark is a golden pocket range for me. I think it's incredible entries for 𝗬𝗰, right? We've hit the first zone. Now this is, if we get this capitulation, it'll be incredible. Nonetheless, I still think accumulating 𝗬𝗰 here is good. Okay, when it comes to trading, guys, trading is very important for you to be patient right now. Rather wait for the bounce, okay, and then wait for the opportunity to long, okay? Unless you are super certain. And what I mean by trading is like leverage trading, all these different types of a little bit more risk, right? In a very risky market right now, is you can see if you draw the 4-hour chart here, or the trend line, right? It is telling you there is space and there's chopping up to do, which means trading is going to be quite difficult now. Okay, it's going to chop. It's volatile, right? So let it drop, let it bounce, let it trickle, and then catch that. That, for me, is when I deploy leverage and I go crazy. And get ready for it, because next week's going to be a massive trading week. Right, next week, we are locked in, and we're going to be trading accounts galore, right? I think it is time, and I think we have a huge opportunity of where the market is right now. But I don't want to blow anything up. I don't want to do anything. Therefore, I'm trading fundeds right now, right? Look into past levels, free up liquidity, get myself a bunch of cash bags everywhere that I have volume to trade for the next couple of weeks. Because yes, it is tough to see a capitulation, but this could be the reset and the start again, and we get to ride it all again, and we have to pay attention to that. So do me a favor today, reset of the brain, right? Reset and get excited for the future. Build a damn plan and lock in, right? We get to do it again. Alt seasons will be slightly different. Not every coin will pump anymore, but good fundamental coins will rally, right? Bitcoin will rally again at some point. Right? We get to ride from bottoms all the way up, and that is truly where the most money is to be made, right? So lock in, forget about the past, build your plan now, okay? And let's go. Okay, Near Protocol. Big opportunities if we come here to the early $2. We are getting there. We actually tapped just under, but I got big zones sitting here between this 1.9 and $2 mark, right? I think it's great buys on Near. Right? Near's had incredible rally, straight back into support right now. Good opportunities, right? ONDO's big buys are sitting here in the mid 30 cents, if not to the 32 cents mark as well, right? Your renders a token that I'm still incredibly bullish on, right? And I'm seeing buys now. I was buying some here close to $2, and I'm definitely buying more between this 1.6 and 1.7, right? Straight back on support, right? So the main momentum trend support, okay? And I'm looking at a strong couple of months incoming for render. Right, your Chainlinks, your Doges, all of these. I'm not buying so much of those anymore. Okay, I'm going a little bit more into the AI-based and privacy tokens and real-world asset tokens and things that kind of make sense for the next cycle of what, you know, specifically if crypto is going to be taken more seriously. Okay, that is where my brain is thinking right now when it comes to that. Okay, so to clarify, to go through here, if we decide to bounce now for some reason, right, I want to see a bounce up to 73,000. And even then, if we don't get back in here, right, I still see us coming down. This will either be to the 40s or it will just be to this liquidity pool over here, right? For now, I'm thinking we're going to move more down in the next day or two. From there, a bounce up, a flag, and then we're going to make a very big decision after that. Guys, have a great day. Now, I do want to actually just show you here on 𝗬𝗚x. Do you want to win VIP tickets to the World Cup? If so, come click the wheel. There's a link below in the description. You have to be using my link. Click on this, spin the wheel, and see if you can win yourself a nice few tickets to the World Cup. And then secondly, guys, if you are trading right now, trade on variational. You're getting points. They're distributing points today, okay? And it's one of the most exciting airdrops coming this year. By trading it, by putting limit orders, by doing all these things, right, you can build yourself points. You're trading anyway, and you can get yourself an airdrop. If I look at my current point system right now, I probably estimate, right, between $4,000 to $6,000 of airdrop points already that I've accumulated, right, on trading a $5,000 to $10,000 account for just 2 weeks. I do this for the next 3 months, right? There's a very good airdrop incoming. So guys, have a great day. Lots of love. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Sniper Trading. Lots of love. Bye-bye.